Okay, here's another one that has been taking a while for us to get here, but when you're trying to find the inverse algebraically, remember inverse means the opposite of everything that's been doing that you're doing as far as an operation or anything like that. And if you look at this here, an inverse in this case when you're solving, then you're basically talking about your input and your output. In this case, our input here is a y, and our output here is the x. So when you talk about the inverse here, basically doing the opposite or what have you, in this case it'll be switching the x and the y. That way when you switch it and then solve for y, you would find the inverse function of this. So first of all here is to recognize who's the y and who's the x. And once you do that, then to find the inverse, we are going to switch the x and the y. So wherever I see a y, I'm going to change it to an x. And then wherever I see the x, I'm going to change it to a y. Okay, and now we're going to solve for y. And remember the do and undo thing? According to PEMDAS, if we're doing PEMDAS, right, when we're solving, when we're ready to solve, it looks like we're ready to solve here, then we call that undo. We're undoing the y until we leave the y by itself. So when we look at the situation here, we have x equals negative 12 minus 7y all over 4. So I'm supposed to do all my addition, subtraction first, and multiply and divide second, and all that stuff. But in this case, it's like having two parts. So we can't deal with the addition and subtraction over here with the y because there's another part down here in the bottom. So before we even get to the part that has that stuff on where the y is at, we need to first get rid of the bottom portion, which is the 4. So we multiply by 4 here, and we end up with 4x equals negative 12 minus 7y, simply because that allows us to cancel those 4's there. Okay, so now we can do our addition and subtraction, which is our minus 12 right here. It's like subtracting 12, so the inverse of that would be adding 12. And it's not going to become 16 because these are two different families. Remember, combining like terms? The first term is an x term, the second term is a constant term, so really the only thing I can do is write them right next to each other. And now we're left with the multiplying and dividing, which is whenever they're right next to each other, they're multiplying. So the inverse of multiplying is dividing. So we're going to divide all of that by negative 7. And then our final thing to always check, for some reason, whenever our bottom number is negative, what they usually do is they change all the signs. Okay, so that's one of the things to look at. More than likely, if you were to have a multiple choice test, we change all the signs so there's no negative in the bottom. And this would be our answer right here. Of course, the way you would see it, though, you would say the inverse of g of x is negative 4x minus 12 all over 7. Because remember, if you see that little negative 1 power there, that means the inverse. Okay?